Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. And
Hello, hello, hello.
beautiful Monday, hot, hot, hot. Fred, I was complaining last Monday about how cold it was. We went from one extreme to the other in a blink of an eye. It's been ridiculous, which is interesting because doing all this GHK-Cu research, it's one of the genes that GHK-Cu works with is actually adapting to body temperature. So adapting your body temperature from heat to cold and cold to heat. I find that very interesting.
Well, I'm in the northern hemisphere and in the States right now, and it's turning towards fall decidedly. So we're flipping right now, I guess.
Yeah, we're flipping, but ours is so extreme. It's really oddly extreme. I don't know if anybody else like really. Anyway. So guys, GHK-Cu, that's tonight's subject. I've done, once you go down that rabbit hole, it's a big rabbit hole to go down, and lots of science studies being done around it. But I'll just introduce myself quickly for those who don't know me. My name's Nicki. I'm a specialized kinesiologist. I have been in health and wellness for 26, 27 years. It's my passion, my absolute passion. I am intrigued by the mind, body, emotional, spiritual connection, by the amazing mechanism that makes us as a whole. So, yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and present to you tonight. I am going to be tackling GHK-Cu, the copper peptide, and the effectiveness of X39. So where to start? I thought I'd start with what a peptide is. So we have hundreds and thousands of peptides in our bodies. A peptide is a small protein that hooks up to specific amino acids in a chain-like formation and creates a very specific, well, actually not a very specific job, but tasks. Peptides are naturally multitaskers. They have myriads and myriads and myriads of jobs that they tackle inside the body. And now I've just lost my notes. Sorry, so that I stay on track here. So funny. The art of preparation, and then you can't find anything. So GHK-Cu, one moment, people. I've just got myself a little bit muddled here. There you go. So the configuration of the formation of this small protein with these amino acids, so it's a chain of amino acids, determines the function. So the shape determines the function. And as I said, they're proper multitaskers. Now, GHK-Cu, for your information, this is all just for your information. And on that note, I need to say that what I'm going to share with you tonight and what I share with you on the specific Monday evening when we are doing the health and wellness teachings, it's not that I expect you to retain all this information. It's about just broadening your horizons as to how the body works, how the system works within whatever framework we are discussing at that time, whether it's eons and how cortisone affects your body, whether we're talking GHK-Cu, copper peptides, X49, whether we're even touching on meridians and acupressure points. I am by no means here to turn you into Chinese medicine doctors. Absolutely not. And there is not an intention that you go and download all this information to your prospects. Definitely not. I'm all about keeping it simple. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. However, this is for your information so that you've got a toolbox that you can refer to. I find when I'm doing a patch party, people want to talk about health. They want to talk about wellness. It's like the buzzword at the moment. And I always find that it gets into this really nice flow of conversations, and people's bring their experiences and their understanding, and we share. And this is for that, so that you have got more confidence in those scenarios. Many of you have, this is your first journey into health and wellness. I mean, as a representative of health and wellness. And it's about just broadening your scope and understanding, specifically around how acupressure points work and meridians. It's a nice to know. It's definitely by no means how you're going to be presenting with all this information and downloading to your prospects so that they absolutely get boggled. It's about creating confidence. And then also, I always forget to say this, we by no means claim to cure any diseases or anything like that. This is just coming from our own experiences with X39. And this one is specifically around GHK-Cu, the copper peptide. So interesting other fact about copper peptide and GHK-Cu, it was actually only found in 1972 by Lauren Pickart. And he delved in really, really deep and did incredible studies with mice and rats, with moving plasma from a young into an old liver and finding regeneration from that plasma of a young person, and what it did to that piece of liver and how it regenerated. So all these amazing studies that he did. I'm going to touch briefly on, so we know that it's a chain of amino acids together with a protein. Now, GHK-Cu, interestingly enough, we've always been taught, stem cells, we lose stem cells by the age of 20, then again at 50, we've got to 60% reduction. Well, GHK-Cu, we have a 60% reduction of GHK-Cu by the time we're 60. That's pretty awesome to know. And why it is so important that we reinstate GHK-Cu into our body. Fun facts. Okay. We have 21,000 genes in our bodies. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up genes is because genes and GHK-Cu are great working buddies, okay? So genes have 2,600 expressions. That means that every gene has a way of expressing itself in 2,600 ways. By that, it means it's not having a conversation. Well, it sort of is. It's communicating what the body needs to be doing in a certain way. Now, genes are affected by our environment. I'm sorry about that. Genes are affected by our environment, okay? So it's our environment being how we are responding emotionally, mentally, physically to the world, whether we've had trauma on those levels, physical incidences, stress onto our bodies, what we're eating, the EMFs in our environment, quality of water, are we breathing deep enough? All of those things affect the gene pool. Okay. So GHK-Cu works with 4,200 of those genes, okay? So what it has the ability to do, and obviously this is a very scientific process, and I'm going to just, it has the ability to upregulate and downregulate, okay, its expression. So by that, it can, if we are stressed, our genes are going to respond to that stress by possibly upregulating and downregulating on a certain, wherever it needs, because the genes are there to adapt to our environment. It is constantly going to be going up and down and up and down. And then obviously, if you're sick and your inflammation is high and you've got a lot of stress in your life on whatever level, it's going to push that regulation up and down. GHK-Cu comes in and regulates them. 4,200, whether they need to be upregulated or downregulated. So I hope everybody's clear about that. If anybody's not clear about upregulate and downregulate, just make a note and I can explain that a little bit further. Let's liken it to over-facilitated and under-facilitate. Okay, so it stimulates, the number one thing that they found out with GHK-Cu is that it really is incredible with skin repair. because it stimulates the synthesis and the breakdown of collagen. So say we've got a scar, for instance, that is a buildup of collagen, a buildup of connective tissue, okay, which then becomes like a pile of bricks rather than the smooth wall. Scars are actually really not healthy for our body because scars stop the communication of the body to the brain, especially if we have them in our midline. Okay, same as tattoos. So GHK-Cu, it assists with the breaking down of collagen and the synthesis of collagen. Okay, it also increases blood vessel formation. So if you've cut yourself really badly, your body and the blood vessels have been severed, your body will start recreating blood vessels to bring clean new blood to that area so that healing can start happening. Okay, which is amazing, because if you look at that in a bigger aspect, you know, so it's reconstituting the vessels and the nerve endings in that area wherever that wound has happened. So that would be then possibilities all over your body, wouldn't it? Not just at the wound. So that's the other one. It restores fibroblasts, which synthesizes collagen. And then, of course, the big one is that it works with the gene that regulates stem cell production. Okay. That's the biggie that we're finding. Interesting study that they did with GHK-Cu. This was before the patches, obviously. They injected GHK-Cu. There was a spinal injury, and the spinal segments had been just really severely damaged. Injecting GHK-Cu around the wound into the skin for 20 days found that the spinal segments started repairing themselves. That's pretty awesome, I think. Alrighty, where else are we going? It's got protective effects on cortisone. So it's really working with cortisone as well, which we understand because we're often told that it's anti-anxiety. Taking to that level through studies on rats, they found it's anti-anxiety, anti-aggression, and what was the other one? Anti-inflammatory. But with the rats, they did the anti-anxiety. So they created a bit of fear in the rat cage. The rats were hiding. They gave them GHK-Cu, and it brought the rats out, and they started sniffing around and looking around and going into the lighter areas and feeling more confident and not hiding away like the other ones that didn't have GHK-Cu. So that study showed that it is anti-anxiety. They also did an anti-aggression one where they shocked the rats, and the rats would fight with each other. Gave them GHK-Cu. It's a bit cruel, hey? GHK-Cu, and shocked the rats, and it decreased by 5 levels of lack of aggression. So that is a massive, if you understand that scientific way of putting it, not very scientific. I mean, that's pretty huge. I always wondered about how they came, what is it that it creates anti-aggression? Okay, it also is a potent, because it inhibits cell growth, it also inhibits, funnily enough, so that would be working with the youth who would know when it's time to stop. So that's the regulation of the gene. So obviously when a youth reaches 25, they no longer need to grow. So that gene would be regulated by GHK-Cu. It also has anti-cancer growth properties at the same time, works with that one. I love this one, apoptosis. So that is regulated programmed cell death. So the body has a gene that regulates cell death. Okay, so we have 50 to 70,000 cells dying a day. Now they use if you go and you haven't been eating very well and you've been on junk food and out there at McDonald's, and then all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm going on a cleanse and I'm only going to eat organic food, lots of greens, good quality meat, well-farmed meat. and your body starts receiving this food. Apoptosis goes into high mode. So it really starts saying, okay, I've now got valuable minerals, valuable nutrients. I'm going to go into cell death and regeneration. Okay, so that's why you detox at those times when you're going to cleanse, when you're going to fast, apoptosis. So GHK-Cu works with that gene of regulating it. So then we think, okay, when we add the peptide, when we add X39 to our bodies and introduce it to our systems, we understand that the body is then going, oh my gosh, let's get this party moving. Let's get all that old stuff out of here. Let's start regenerating. And we start experiencing quite severe detoxes, some of us. Apoptosis, it's such a nice word. And just about copper itself is used for iron metabolism. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. Oxygenation, neurotransmission, embryonic development, just to name a few. Let me see if there's anything I've missed. Yeah. I think I've touched it. Okay, so we do know the basis of what it actually does. So it's tissue remodeling, it's an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, anti-pain, anti-anxiety, blood vessel regrowth, nerve regrowth, anti-cancer action, stem cell regeneration. Yeah, and I think that is basically it. I was very interested, and I don't know if anybody can help me with this. I heard a talk where they were really talking about mitochondria. Now, I'm specifically interested. I think mitochondria is a very interesting concept, and the regeneration of GHK-Cu and how it works with the regeneration of mitochondria. Now, mitochondria is the battery cell of the body. Basically, it's where we get our energy. And I think that most of us, or many of us, who the first experience we had with X39 was a real boost of energy. I didn't find any information on that, funnily enough. I really hunted. So I don't know if anybody has that to share. Excuse me, I've got such a chest cold. But I do feel like I have touched most of this. Are there any questions? Is there anything that anybody could add? Anybody hear about the mitochondria? Fred, I thought you might know. I've got your face on my screen. Is Fred there?
Hi, Nicki. It's Nancy here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. Nice to see you.
Thank you. This is super interesting.
Good.
I would like to hear a little bit more about the mitochondria and I mean, I have to tell you of the things you describe. The most impressive to me is that first burst of energy and how I first reacted. Not everybody experiences in the same way, but lately, it was like going through that height, and then I think I have been detoxing in a big way recently. And I was wondering if that is kind of normal as well. To get to this height of, I haven't lost my energy, but I have had several reactions, including allergic reactions, which I wonder if this is part of the process.
I love this question. And thank you for asking it, because yes, if we have to look at the layers of the body, so say we're doing 10 years for every decade, what happens in those 10 years? So normally with this kind of process, it's the last thing that came in is the first thing that goes out. So that is on a mental, emotional aspect, physical aspect. Okay. So then you've got to think of your body as an onion. Okay. And you're going in layer by layer by layer. You never go straight in, because it would just be too much, because we can't just have to go layer by layer by layer. Every layer will have something else that could have been suppressed there. Okay. Because I think we all suppress to a level, if you understand what I mean by that, suppressing, whether we have to just be strong as mothers and, we're going through an emotional turmoil, but we still wake up in the morning, we're still there for our children, we're still carrying on, we're still going. So we suppress and we suppress. Okay. Whatever it may be, mental, emotional, physical trauma, it might even be a poison that your body had synthesized but hadn't released completely, and that was suppressed. So as you go through the layers, you will detox whatever is relevant at that layer. So with X39, I'm under no doubt at all that we are working physically, mentally, emotionally, realigning, and then spiritually comes into that. Absolutely. So that's why detoxing doesn't only happen on a physical level. It can also happen emotionally, that all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're just absolutely broken and you're crying, or you're friggin' as mad as hell, or irritable. It's part of an elimination process. Okay. And that doesn't just happen in the beginning. It can happen 5 months into X39. It can happen a year into X39. And we remember that when it happens, it's something that was suppressed. So you've got allergies at the moment. How is it presenting itself, Nancy, your allergies?
Well, I am, I think, thankfully allergic to most Western medications, to the
Okay.
point that a doctor told me once, I don't know what we're going to do with you if you get a big infection, which is fine because now I have this.
Yes.
And
How's
so,
it presenting itself lately to you? Like you said, you're detoxing. You think
like skin reactions, itching. And I have had that throughout my life in times of trauma. I have reacted that same way. So I've been talking to Fred about this, but I am about to go into a series of concerts and presentations, and I don't particularly enjoy this moment, even though I can manage. I can manage. But the word that what you talked about, suppression, is a big, big word, because I've had to be I've had to be superwoman in many ways through my life, and so I have had to suppress many things. So I think this the X39 doesn't let me know.
And
I
that's
mean,
a great thing.
I mean,
And that's a great thing, because, suppression creates inflammation. It creates all kinds of,
exactly.
problems. So I think that if we go into this journey that we're all on together right now with curiosity, without a judgment of anything, just pure curiosity. If you look at a cat and they're curious, they just remain attentive to what is going on, but there's no judgment. There's no judgment to what is happening. We've got to watch our fear at this point, because yes, the same things happened to me. I've had eczema in points in my life, never hectically. When I was a little child, my mom told me about it, but stress for me comes out through my skin, and I detox through my skin. And during a very difficult part of my marriage, I had a lot of skin eczema going on. Anyway, it popped up again. I did
Yeah.
quite a strong process for 10 days, which was part of kinesiology training that we were doing. And I did a huge detox and it all came out through my skin. And it just had to, I just had to sit through it, and it will pass. This too will pass. Just allow it to come out, invite it to come out, be kind to please, just release. Breathe out your skin, when you're drinking, breathe out your skin and breathe it away. What were you going to say, Nancy?
Yeah. No, I was going to say that curiosity is my middle name, and I am, even though at times I'm in discomfort, I am quite enjoying it's because it's like observing all this transformation. And I want to share with everybody that this thumb in my left hand, in the last, I would say in the last 2 years, I'm a pianist, so
Yes.
I can manage anything because I have a good technique. But this thumb had started to collapse and I couldn't handle it. And in the last weeks, this joint has totally regenerated. So I have power, have independence. I can do my stretchings in all directions. So for me, the process is like a miracle. It's like watching an amaryllis open up.
Well, I'm so glad you brought this up because it takes me to the conversation, the understanding of GHK-Cu. I don't know why I'm struggling today to say that. With that regeneration of your nerve cells and the blood vessels of collagen, which is connective tissue. There's connective tissue there, and the experiment they did with the spinal segment, people can't believe that the spine can regenerate. And they did that experiment with injecting with GHK-Cu over 20 days, I think it was 0.5 milligrams. And the spinal segments started healing and regrowing and finding their space back in the spine. And that's the same story, it's amazing. It's that connective tissue and the blood vessels. I'm so happy for you. It's fantastic. And, just sit through this stuff. Just remember how important it is to drink the water, guys. Remember that exercise is really important. I'm also in a situation where I'm looking at certain things. Like there's a lot that I left out, let's look at what else it does. It restores the lining of the stomach, of the large intestine. It restores the line, works with the lung. It works with COPD, I think it was called. COPD, a chronic obstructive pericardium disease, okay? And also you find it in the lung. And they found that with GHK-Cu, massive improvements in healing with emphysema, with coronary disease. So it's so interesting. So where I was going with that story is I had gut issues that came out of nowhere. I always thought I had a really strong gut, and then I just was getting really uncomfortable. And what really thrilled me about X39 is finding that my gut is operating in a more healthy way. It's not getting so sensitive and However, it is still because of that, it doesn't mean that I'm not taking probiotics. It's even more important now that I find really good probiotics, okay? I can't expect that X39 is just going to take care of everything. I still need to put action in, so taking the probiotic. I also have had this awful flippin', what do you call it, planter's wart on my foot, okay? And I've been on X39 for 5.5 months now, 6 months almost, and I was just hoping that this planter's wart would get sorted out. And the one actually went, but it didn't get better. And I was putting glutathione on my foot and doing everything. And I stopped taking the homeopathic remedy that was really suggested called thuja, which you paint on the foot and you take. And I just didn't, because I was just putting so much expectation on X39 to heal it all for me. But what I've done is now started applying the thuja, and I see that it's healing. It's really going quite fast now. So the combination of what X39 does, plus a combination of something like thuja, it helps. So we mustn't, just what I'm saying is that don't put all your eggs in one basket, guys, because it will minimize your joy and expect.
I agree. It's
like keep helping your body, keep doing exercise even more than ever, drinking great quality water, having good alkalinized diet of, 70% greens and the rest is either in carbs or protein. Make sure that you stay away from the crap. Go organic if you can, really, as much as possible. So we do need to be supporting ourselves. Nancy, I really love that you always just bring in some stuff. Anybody else? Come, guys.
Yeah, you were mentioning me by name. I was trying to unmute and come on camera. I heard mitochondria, but I'll return to that because I do have a question for you. First, I just want to check in the chat. I wanted to recognize somebody who's been attending our meetings and is in my downline. It's actually Jose Cueto is signed up by Nancy. And I just want to welcome him to the group. I don't know if he's available to come off of camera or not. It's okay, Jose, either way. But
Hello.
he is another professional musician. He is a violinist. He's led the past 4 across the world, and he's a tremendous soloist and chamber musician and concert master. And I will leave it up to him if he wants to share anything, but I just want to make sure you all know about him and welcome him when he is able to participate in the group. There he is. Jose, would you like to share anything with us?
Well, thank you for the introduction. I'm very glad to be part of the group and part of the patches with Nancy, which are helped me, maybe not as dramatically as it did her at the beginning, but they're still helping me a lot. I'm also on my 3rd month of the patches, so I'm experiencing some reactions too.
Can you share with us what you've experienced?
Well, in my case, you see, I have suffered from diabetes type 2 for many years, probably now 20 years or almost 20 years. So one of the things that has happened since I started using the patches is that my blood sugar level has come down. Because I was hitting normally in the 280s, something like that. And I've even got a reading of 150 something not too long ago. So it didn't come down like, 100 points from one day, 1 week to another. But it has gradually come back. And even when I don't eat everything, when I have some dessert or something that I maybe shouldn't have had, it normally doesn't go above 200. Right now, I'm in the 190s, around there. If I don't,
yes,
I'm very careful. If I'm more careful eating, it would be even a little lower than that. But one of the things that happened is that when I was taking metformin, it didn't seem to matter. After a while, the readings were pretty much the same. So I would stop taking it because I didn't see any advantage. Then I would get a little worse. I would start feeling worse, and so I'd go back to the doctor or the clinic or whatever. They say, "Are you taking metformin?" So I said, "No." So we start and again to take metformin, and it would improve a little bit. But so I was on and off with metformin. But what I have done since I have done the patches is I have lowered my dosage of metformin.
Okay.
And I gradually intend to keep lowering as far as if this keeps going down because of the patches, I will keep lowering the metformin. Right now, I have half of what they originally had me
So what I
going.
hear you saying, you're coming down with your medication, and your blood sugar is also dropping.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
great.
Yeah. So, I'm very happy about that. And also in terms of energy, I have more energy than I had before, because I got to a point a few months ago where I was pretty much wiped out. I had to play in Europe when I came back from that tour, could barely move. It was like all my energy was gone, because there's a lot of, not only the energy of playing and the traveling, but also the stress, because I was a soloist for particular, it's doing some solos with some European orchestras. So you have to do well. You're anyway. It took a lot from my body. I lost some weight. So again, when I came back, the patches help. So the weight.
Were you on the patches already when you were playing at the concert, or did you only go onto them when you got back?
I got to them when I got back.
Okay.
In other words, the tour ended at the beginning of June.
Okay.
That's when I came back from Europe. And Nancy had just discovered the patches thanks to Fred. So I started doing them probably a couple of days after she did. So we started almost together. And I've been doing that ever since. I intend to keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Keep going.
But
And the anxiety levels, have they lessened your anxiety levels?
To a certain extent, I still have some moments where things get a little bit higher than I would want. And mostly because of the traveling, all of the driving. I do a lot of driving, and I had sciatica and whatever neuropathic pain before I went to Europe. Like this past year, it started the sciatica thing, and so that is a lot better. That gets a lot better when I put some extra patches. Like I have carnosine today. It works. It helps with those nerve pains in my case. So I think that after like the 3 months, just like Nancy's experiencing these other reactions, in her case, the allergies, and then I'm experiencing some of the pains, like pains in my leg or something. But I think it's something that is coming out like from before.
It will be coming out. And often also we'll find that all of a sudden the pathway of the pain is changing, because it is actually the pathway of the pain. It's like you'll say it will maybe start in your pelvis right side, and all of a sudden that starts feeling better, but then the next minute you've got it up on your upper shoulder blade, and that feels like all heavy, and your neck is tight, and so the pain will travel and repair those areas that it needs to.
At some point, I thought like it was like reversing itself.
Exactly.
Like going retrograde, going backwards. That's from when I don't know, but so I'm dealing with that. But again, the patches, even if I have pain, which let's say bothers me at night, I have to wake up once or twice at night from the discomfort, But during the day, if I put the patches, after a few minutes, I'm fine. I'm not, the pain either lessens 80%, 90%, or actually goes away completely.
Yeah.
So, but again, I know this is not a, immediate, you're going to be fine from 1 week to another or something. It's a longer process, but
we've all got our own processes. You've got the ones that have that one patch wonders and miracles immediately, and then the rest of us who have to go moment by moment.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, welcome. Lovely to have you on the team.
Thank you. Lovely. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's a great ride. It's so much fun. I highly recommend it. It really is.
Thanks.
Anything else? Did you have any feedback Fred, about the action of GHK-Cu with mitochondria.
So that wasn't, yeah, I need more research there. I mean, I'm certainly no expert there. I was just sort of reviewing some things, and thank you so much for what you've shared. I think getting to greater clarity, I'm sort of thinking strategically as a team right now. I don't know, I had this idea that maybe we might also find if there's maybe a 1 to 2 minute check-in, those who are moved to say, this week I noticed this on my team or with my downline. And so I just have a 1 minute thing there I was going to share. But first, I wanted to acknowledge about the peptides. I don't know. I also am skeptical of AI, but what I'm seeing right now in my um, search here is that it says the human body naturally produces over 7,000. And so I didn't know about the numbers, but it's different types of peptides. And what I didn't know before is that there's short chains of amino acids. I always knew that amino acids were the building blocks of DNA, but that this I'd never seen before that peptides are traditionally defined as molecules that consist of between 2 and 50 amino acids.
Exactly.
Whereas peptides so they're smaller than protein, which are 50 or more. So that's new to me.
That's a polypeptide. So the peptide is 2 to 50. Polypeptide is 50 upward. They said up to 80, 90, that becomes a polypeptide. And then the configuration of that determines whatever responses they have in their body.
And then I wanted of what you just shared, Nicki, about your plantar warts. I don't know anything about them personally, so I just was plugging in here. And this particular site, of which I will say up front, I am skeptical. It's the Mayo Clinic, which means it's the Western medicine mainstream thing. So, but some of the things they start out with probably sound right, that they're small, rough growths on the feet, according to this. You let us know if there's something else. They usually show up on the balls and heels of the feet, areas that bear the most pressure. This pressure may cause a wart to grow inward and beneath a hard, thick layer of cells. Just a brief check-in with you. Does that seem is that fairly accurate?
Is that the virus actually lives in your body for quite a long time, and it takes a long time. And that's why it takes a long time for them to die off, because it takes a long time for them to establish themselves. It will be going on and on and on, and you've got no idea it's there. And then one day, it's there, but it's been going. That virus has been building. So that's why you need to take internal thuja and external.
So that's something I'm going to take under advisement for myself. I don't claim to know, but I have been over the last 4.5 years now, actually probably been 3+ that among them, probably dozens of people that I used to follow, that I still may, that were sort of demonized over the last 4 years as though they were spreading misinformation. And I found that they seem to still be spewing truth. There's somebody new from New Zealand, Dr. Sam Bailey and Mark Bailey, her husband, that are taking on virology and the whole concept of viruses. So what places like the Mayo Clinic say about this, I mean, and here you're a firsthand person with this, dealing with this, and so there's a certain narrative, and I don't know the truth. It might be true, it may not be, but in terms of whether it is actually, they declare that they are caused by HPV, the human papillomavirus. And so whether that's true or not, I can't claim to know. I'm just saying that I approach everything at this point with a spirit of discovery and search for that further. So
that I will do some research.
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating, because when you look at, there's so many things that, for me at least, without going too deep in, that's it's like we have the movie The Wizard of Oz that maybe many of you have seen, that ends with pay no attention to that man behind the curtain, and we have The Emperor's New Clothes, and we have Trojan horses. We have all these things that we knew as kids, and then to come live it in the present is a whole different thing. I'm going to shift gears just for a second. I don't mean to hijack the meeting at all, but I just wanted to share, for example, what I thought might be helpful if others have these kinds of insights. I was talking with one of my sponsored people who's on the call, and another one who's on the call, and don't need to identify them right now, but they have expressed their own frustration with people that they're pitching to. And I would suggest, I would suspect that we all have encountered this. So just for what it's worth, I wanted to share something about, like these are people who have experienced remarkable results themselves. I actually am sort of in the middle. I've experienced good results, but I'm not like these people that have gotten the one patch wonders or even 1 month was something really spectacular. I have things that I can point to that I think are impressive by themselves, but I think it may be even more challenging for those who experience rapid success. And then in the case of somebody I was talking about with today, who has actually put patches on others who have then experienced rapid results, often like even within the day. And then there's resistance after that. So I know that in our work, we're always going to encounter resistance. I mean, most of us probably all of us, with a degree of skepticism, which I think we've all tended to hear from our upline and others that's good. Because then when you do your search, you actually are able to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff. An example for me was looking at things like Amazon reviews or a guy on YouTube who's kind of, he's clearly against all MLM. So he kind of throws a kind of mediocre or lukewarm kind of a little bit of shade. And then you look underneath it and you're like, God, is this all they've got? Like I'd expect much more crap being thrown at Lifewave if it were an unscrupulous enterprise. So I guess I'm sort of a little bit all over the place, but I just wanted to sort of encourage people to think of, and in a way, it was whether this was from you, Nicki, about you're still waiting for that to happen, and I'm just going intuitively saying you may still see that. When I think about what I said to one of my people this morning is, think about it, that the MS and the Parkinson's testimonials, some of those that we're seeing, they're incredible. And Renita's own mother, when I came on, Renita had not been in the company for 2 years yet, but her mother was the main reason why she got involved. So now I think Renita's probably around 27 months or so. But you remember around June, she told us, first of all, she showed that video in June for anybody who wasn't on there of Scott and Renita's mom walking, and Renita sort of said casually, she said, I don't think they would even say she has Parkinson's anymore because you can see her swinging her arm, and that's not something you have with Parkinson's. It was about a month after that Renita said, oh, I just got to tell you, my mom is moving back into her own independent living situation. She's playing cards with her girlfriend and everything. So all these things continue to happen. And I think even we can be subject to that expectation bias. And so I just want to, encourage everybody, because I imagine most of us are at a belief level of at least 10 out of 10. And so then it becomes even the more frustrating or illogical to see somebody who's actually experienced it. That's what I was talking to somebody this morning about. Like, he slapped patches on this guy. This guy had results, and his wife was freaking out the next day because his neck was doing things it hasn't done in, I don't know, a decade or more. I mean, people get these things and then they get to the point of sign up, and sometimes they get skittish. So I think I've heard it before from people like Nicki and Kathy and others. Like, we also have to sense, how do we listen to people? Remember that they're the hero in their own movie, that we have to allow them the space to see themselves envisioning the kind of success that they're going to have. At the same time, I am careful personally to say, we all want to be a one patch wonder. We all want to experience rapid results. And yet we can't guarantee anything. We know that things are happening. And I was thinking of one person who's in my downline who has not joined our group at all. He's off in his own, I will say he's in the UK. He says, I'm just a stubborn Englishman. And he wants to believe in them, but he hasn't had his own miracle in like 4.5 months. And so he's also not building belief by being in the group. So some people would say he's being a pure scientist. And I'm supportive of him, whatever his journey is. But I just noticed that I try to restate that Dr. Schmidt himself and Lifewave, they recommend that we patch for at least a month for every decade of life lived. And that results are going to vary. So I think we should just encourage people to take scans when they start and other things. Because this fellow, if he had scans from the beginning and you did them again, he may find that there's all kinds of things happening underneath. Okay, I've just been speaking for a while. Just hope that's sprinkling something that may be helpful for somebody. And if anybody has things like that to add, I certainly would welcome them personally too.
Thanks for that, Fred. I think that most of it, we're living in a world where it's instant gratification. So it is, I think, one very common denominator that comes up all the time. My phrase is Rome wasn't built in a day, and understanding that the body works in layers. What are you noticing rather than what you're not noticing? Because people in the mind tends to go to what you're not seeing. But knowing that this is a process, and I find it's almost a little bit too short saying 1 decade for every 1 month for every decade. It really depends on what you've gone through in that decade.
Yes.
So if you've had
a lifetime.
The 40s were very, very hard and lots of trauma and lots of stuff happened. Well, that decade's going to maybe take 2 or 3 months because we accumulate, and it's a process of elimination and rebalancing the system. And I don't think that also with people like that, I've had that as well. People just going, nah, not working. It's like, well, what can you do? What can you do? Move on.
Yeah, and lots of people like Hoynie used to say, sorry to cut you. Hoynie's sometimes comes to our meetings. She's from Cyprus, and I like the way she put it. She goes, I realize that some people just want a pill. Some people need a pill. So that's about the belief too, because if you're truly a true believer in like the most narrow Western medicine, you're likely to do that. I see several people have their hands up, and Alondra had her mute up. So
a lot of people want to be sick because it's the way that it's seen and heard, and that is a very real reality. Not for everybody, because so many people are feeling neglected and not seen and not heard, and that they're manifesting these illnesses in order to be recognized by whatever the circumstances. So that could be another one that is a bit of a mind trip, really, and a hard one to get your head around.
Yeah, Nicki, I'm not sure if you can see, but Nancy and Eilener have hands up.
Oh, please, please, please go. I can't see. I'm so glad you told me. Thank you. I see it.
This is going to be short. Something I have learned, I have given patches in a few occasions. And I remember once something that Renita said once is, do not, if they don't pay, they are not going to pay attention. So I will not give patches anymore. In one instance, I have lent patches with the promise for them to be returned, but not giving patches anymore because people don't get it. And, I've given 3 sleeves, and that's a lot. And from I haven't it's very disappointing to me, those because people don't appreciate. But that's it, no more.
Well, that's a lesson learned then, it's the same way it's the same way as expectation of how we want our bodies to heal. Expectation will reduce joy. If you're going to give, expect to get nothing back. But generally, the exchange of energy, whether it's in money or a trade of something else, and they bring you a beautiful bunch of flowers or whatever it is. I mean, a full box of sleeve is a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to butt in. Okay, can I butt in? One comment on that is just in case you all haven't watched the This Is It team videos, there are a number of senior presidential directors who talk about things like this. And I remember there was one fellow who's willing to give out 5 patches to somebody if they sign up. He says, and if they don't sign up, I take them back.
Okay, I sell mine if I give 5 per patch. Ayana, let's go, girl.
Hey, Nicki, it's awesome to see your smile. I would just want to share that, in my own experience, I have been through a lot of hectic health experiences in my short life. And, I have had the most incredible, very quick, very short-term experience initially starting the patches and being incredibly sensitive I do a lot of health coaching with my clients, and I've always shared with them, if you take your age now and you think about the state that your body is in and think about how it got there, just remember that in order to reverse these things, be kind and compassionate enough with your own body to recognize that it's going to take time to reverse these things. And in my own journey, being incredibly sensitive, I have very rapidly started reversing things like having half my lung removed, experiencing extensive trauma around health issues. And, Nicki and I have chatted briefly about some of the things that I've been dealing with in what is actually reversing in my body. And often what is reversing can feel more intense than when you first experienced it when it happened. So, don't let it frighten you, but be aware that our job when we share with others is to support them in the process. We also need to support ourselves and our own bodies through that process of reversing what it is that we've experienced that led us to actually being on the patches in the first place. That's just my own experience in it. And, to speak to what Fred also shared about, sharing it with people, you patch them, they have a good response initially, or they don't have a response initially, and then you speak to them, follow up, want to get them to sign up, and then you're met with some kind of resistance. And something I've learned specifically over the years is part of who we are and what we need to do and who we need to be for these people is to actually inquire into the resistance and what it is that is actually coming up for them that is making them kind of hit that wall and get to that point of going, well, I'm not quite sure I actually want to sign up. It could be money, it could be family, it could be beliefs, it could be so many different things. So for me, it's about not judging, it's about not creating some kind of perception from my own space, but really leaning into how can I support you to feel into what this resistance is that is coming up for you, where we're literally just supporting, sharing, caring the whole time in this journey.
Love that, Diana. Thank you. Yeah, we've got to remember, guys, we're pioneering here. We really are. We're planting seeds. You think about any pioneer landing in any country and what that was like. It was difficult. It's tough. And we're going to get resistances. And we're dealing with a technology that is just beyond people's minds at this point, But we're going to keep on because the more of us patch, it's a domino effect. The greater we're feeling, we like, this is like, people might not even have to patch, that we're just vibing so hard that they feel it too. And GHK-Cu just starts activating because it communicated with my body to do that. You know what I mean? We don't know the miracles that we are capable of, I think, within our bodies. We've just got to remember, keep challenging your limited belief system to become.
Looks like Michelle, did you want to share as well? Sorry, I see that Michelle's had her hand up numerous times. So
I've only got 3 things on my screen. Thanks so much.
I know, Nicki, you can't
I don't
see
know for some
That's
reason
not
how
letting
to
me know.
I can't put my hand up on the thing for some reason.
Amen.
So I wanted to share that because I've probably been tomorrow I'll be on it for 4 weeks for the X39 and Eon, and I've had long COVID for over a year and a half, and obviously the one thing that I noticed was a lot of mucus coming off my lungs. And interesting, I just wanted to iterate your point about suppression, because this weekend with the change of temperature, I had a massive asthma attack this weekend, which really it put my body under a lot of strain. But what was interesting, what came up is as a little girl, I often was telling my mom and dad I had sore tummies or I had something was wrong. And I realized that I don't have a gene that detoxes chemicals or carcinogenics. And I used to drink a 2-liter Fanta when I was a little girl all the time. So there was something wrong, but I was never believed. And interesting. So today was I don't want to be sick, so I almost don't want to accept the asthma. But one of the things of this missing gene is that I have an atopic asthma. But the brain like tries to resist. I don't want to accept it because I don't want to be sick. So I want to be better. But so the interesting lesson was to accept it, because until you can accept something, you can't actually heal it. So sometimes the resistance can come in the mind, like not wanting something, but I know as I accept it and accept the frustration I had as a little girl with my parents trying to say, and they didn't understand, and I don't blame them, that they didn't have the insight that we have now, but there is still that suppression in my body. And then by releasing it, so there's kind of layers of that. And then today I had to just be very still and recover, because the weekend was very hectic with the big shift in temperatures. And then also looking into, maybe it's X49 I should try, because it works more with the cardiovascular system, and that might help me a little bit more as I go forward. But I just thought the suppression point, sometimes that can be the resistance of the acceptance. And I do a lot of emotional work with people, and you cannot let go something unless you accept it. And that sometimes can be people's resistance. Maybe also in the sale process as well.
I think
and
on
then
all
letting it go.
levels, that you're saying. I think it's on all levels, because it is, again, based around a limited belief system of how the world has been presented to you. So if the world's been presented to you as a fear of MLM and pyramid scheme, well, that resistance is going to come up even illogically when you have to say to them, hey, but if you look at it, this is the best way for this patch to circulate. And it has, because the business has grown by $440 million in 2 years. What else would he have done? Put it on the shelf with GNC. So, there are those resistances that are limited belief. And I think it just is going to come up.
So I think it is working on lots of levels. I mean, obviously I work very strongly on the emotional and mental level, so I can change that for myself. But
yes,
it will stop your progress of your body healing as well. So just thought I'd share. But hopefully I've only been a month, and hopefully we'll just keep getting, and my body starts to recover much quicker than it
if we
used
can just look at this quickly. I'm sorry, Michelle, I didn't mean to. Just go back to what we look at GHK-Cu, and we understand that the lung lining is being reinstated, the lungs start healing. So Michelle, as part of her detox, is eliminating from the lung. Okay, a lot of coughing, a lot of sputum happening. Then she related, which I found very interesting, to her large intestine, which was very young. She had small tummy ache and all the time. Now, the large intestine and the lung work together as a pair. Also, for fun fact, but interesting fact, they share the same biome. The large intestine and the lungs share the same biome. I don't know if anybody knows that the lung has a biome like the gut does. We always think probiotics because gut, but it's also the lung. So, if we look at GHK-Cu, you're working with the lung, reinstating the lung, you're releasing from your lung, so it's working. So I would think that you're on the right patches, and together with Eon, because asthma is very related to cortisol imbalances.
Yeah, I think, Nix, it's like what's happening is my stomach and my lungs are pulling apart, and then it causes the acid to come up because that little valve doesn't come up, so it creates that burning effect. And my diaphragm like swells up when it gets cold. So that's what happens, because it's like an atopic asthma. It happens with the cold weather. So I try hard, like don't breathe cold weather. As long as it's warm, I'm okay. But if it's cold, then it changes it. So, but hopefully the body will just get better at handling it.
GHK-Cu works with the gene that regulates body temperature. Well, going from hot to cold. So again, that should be helping you hugely. Guys, we've hit 7:05. I don't want to keep anybody too long. Is there anything else? I can't see any hands up or...
I was going to share some stuff, but I am mindful of everybody's time, so I don't want to keep everybody on here. That's things we can still discuss at some stage. But I think most importantly, I just wanted to share with Jose, considering that his sugar levels have dropped, a little bit of my journey, because I'm 3 months probably longer in it than he had indicated. First of all, that's really amazing. I'm so pleased to hear other people's testimonials. I think it's really important that the teams who are experiencing in our teams are experiencing, results, that we are able to share those results and perhaps at some stage even collaborate and put them on our YouTube channel to support, brand partners. So I think that will be incredible. I don't mind playing host and interviewing on Zoom, and we record it when everybody's ready, of course. No obligation towards that. I just think it would be a nice feature.
I think sooner rather than later, because I'm seeing a lot of diabetes is up, guys. So diabetes, Parkinson's, those are the ones, and those are where we're really seeing
the
work. But it was interesting because we had Thalia asking last week for any diabetic thing.
I thought that's why. Let me just say something as well, because I see people are asking these questions. So if there's anybody in the team, of course, I just have not had the time to sit and do a comprehensive testimonial, which I do plan on doing, but I'm juggling a few hats at the moment. But I'll be happy to arrange a Zoom call with anyone in our team who's experiencing results, who would like it, to be recorded. I can keep it as an unpublished video or published video that our Lifewave team Inspire can use for other brand partners in the testimonial group. And then those links are always available. So if anybody's up for that, please reach out to me. I'm happy to do it for the team. I wanted to share a little bit of experience. I also see that I through the healing processes as well. So in terms of the sugar spikes, it's not a consistent flat line, basically. It's a peak and a curve, and then I have healing processes where I'm really tired. The body feels like it's not going. So it may come across to other people because I'm so rah-rah, that I'm not experiencing these things. But when I deal with people one-on-one, I explain to them that our biochemistries are very different, that we're on different medications, that we lead different lifestyles, and all those things. So I'm very open with the people that I deal with one-on-one. I speak to them about nutrition. I speak to them about diet.
I've lost track.
Also, for myself personally, I do a lot of quantum healing. And I am a believer in quantum healing, so I do that on myself as well, which is a massive contributor to the patches working for me. I mean, I talk about being a one-patch wonder, but I don't talk about the quantum healing that I do behind the scenes. Okay, so when I deal one-on-one with people, if they are open to a different mindset, then I explain that to them as well. So I just wanted to share that with the team to let you know that it's not just the patches. I've also, changed supplements. I listen to Renita's Zoom calls about gut health, about weight loss, all those things, and they have been incredible for me. So not just the patches. But I have to say, Jose, 6 months in, I mean, I went from an average, in South Africa, the averages sound a bit different. But I was like, I think a 9.7. My last glucose monitor that I took out yesterday, I'm down to a 6.3. So the average 3-month in South Africa is a 5.7 or 5.5, I think. So in 6 months, even though I still have those high, I particularly have very high spikes after eating. That is besides whether I'm eating carbs or I'm eating vegetables, or it's kind of irrespective at certain times where the highest spike happens. So just to share with you, if you are seeing the spikes, I put it down to a healing process. It's basically almost like my system is now flushing it out and the spikes are a little bit higher. But over the 3-month period, that's where I see the real results of what's happening. Because it can scare you. Sometimes you think, oh, I was doing so well. And then I have this high spike. And anyway, I just wanted to do that to give you a little bit of insight and encourage you. And I also just wanted to share on what Fred was talking about the resistance and so forth. I had one person that I started with. I started a relationship with a total stranger off TikTok. And I've been chatting to him up and down, what's it, 6 months now. And I just pulled that relationship with those people. He's resistant. He was resistant from the word go. And then last week, he sent me photos of his face completely swollen up from allergic reaction to medications. And so we chatted. I sent him the links. We spoke about it. He's still resistant. It is not my place to convince him, but I can offer him the information until he's ready. If he's never ready, that's also okay. It's up to each individual person to decide, you know. And then I also just wanted to touch on samples, you know, giving people patches. I also give people patches from time to time. In the beginning, a lot. I was giving sleeves away in the beginning. However, if you look at somebody, just a different perspective, when your doctor's writing you a script, do you ask them for a sample? See? Do you go into Dis-Chem or Clicks or any pharmacy and say, I'm not really sure about this product. Can I maybe just use 5 days of it? And let's see how it goes. Now remember, Lifewave is a superior product. It's one of a kind. There's only one of it in the world. You can't go into a shop and ask for a slice of bread out of a loaf just to test it, sort of thing. So think of it from that perspective as well. Now, I'm not saying being harsh about it, but I just want to give you a different perspective to samples. You have paid a lot of money for a cutting-edge, phenomenal, superior product. And like Nancy was talking about, you know, if people don't pay for it, they don't appreciate it. So I'm very, very mindful of who I share samples with, sort of thing. Of course, you know, if it's like Nicki and she's having a patch party, then people expect to receive samples. That's what they're there for. So it's a different scenario. But just in passing, I just wanted to share that perspective. There was a lot more, but I am very mindful of your time. And this has been amazing, Nicki. Thank you so much. Fred, Nicki, Jose, Nancy, Ilana, everyone who shared tonight. I think it's so worth it for our team. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alandra.
Thank you, Alandra. That's really great. Thanks for sharing. You know, all sharing is so valuable, guys. And I think it's time to close the shop. I want to thank you all for really taking the time to coming. I think next time I do this presentation, I will have a better understanding how to set up some slides, and I will get a little bit more succinct, because I'm certainly never doing it again from pieces of paper. That was
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you,
I
everyone.
think you did amazing without slides, Nicki.
Thank you, Nicki.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you all. Love sharing this life with you guys. Keep having fun. Keep doing